He doesn't come waving a flag, no anthem, no polished speech about strength, no promise that God will make us win. He comes weeping, not abstract grief, but the kind that catches in the throat when you can already see the bodies. Jesus, the God-man, looks at the city and sees its ending. Stones torn down, smoke in the lungs of the poor, mothers learning the language of loss. If only you knew what makes for peace, but they don't. Because peace that does not dominate feels like defeat to people raised on victory. And still he walks in straight into the temple where God and nation have started to share the same breath, where prayer has learned the accent of power, where holiness is bent, not suddenly but slowly, until it can carry what it was never meant to hold. The outer court, the only space left for the nations, it is crowded. Tables, animals, money moving, and a sign, not metaphor, stone. Foreigners, do not pass. Cross this line and your blood is your own responsibility. The place meant for all, guarded by threat. And beneath it, something forming, not chaos, formation. A people being trained to believe God is on their side against their enemies. That violence, if it comes, will be righteous. That blood, if it spills, will be clean. A house of prayer becoming a workshop for certainty, for anger with a liturgy. He knows that road. He knows where it leads. Rome will answer, and Rome always answers. Crosses multiplied along the roads, bodies lifted into the air as warnings. The poor crushed first and longest. He can see it already. That's why he weeps, and then he acts. Not loss of control, judgment. He bends down and he gathers cords, slow, deliberate, like someone who has already seen the cross and does not turn away. He makes a whip and then movement. Tables overturn. Wood cracks. Coins strike stone, sharp, ringing. Animals surge. Ropes slip. Voices fracture. The order breaks, and for a moment, just a moment, there is space again. He drives it out. Not rage without aim. Not violence for its own sake, but a refusal to let this stand. Sacrifice halts. Money freezes. The rhythm collapses. My house, not shouted, spoken like gravity, was meant to be a place of prayer for all nations, all the ones behind the barrier, the ones worn back, the ones who learned to stay small. But you've made it a den of Lestai. Not thieves in the dark, but men who make violence think it is holy, who sharpen death and call it faithfulness. Church, when your worship needs an enemy to feel alive, you are closer to this court than you think. He has already said it, love your enemies, not as sentiment, as refusal to become what you hate, refusal to let violence offer the ending, refusal to baptize bloodshed as obedience. And so he stands there between empire and uprising. Rome on one side, efficient, merciless, revolt on the other, burning, certain, and he rejects them both. No to domination, no to retaliation, and yes to a way that looks like weakness, until it is nailed to wood and still does not answer violence with violence. Church, you who carry the symbol of the cross, have you mistaken it for permission instead of warning? The whip in his hand, not spectacle, not theatre, a line drawn in the dust. This far, no further, not here. Church, what tables stand unturned because they benefit you? What exclusions feel normal because they cost you nothing? Bring it here. The flags wrapped tight around faith. The prayers that sound like strategy. The quiet rooms where decisions are made about who belongs and who waits outside. Bring the polished stage, the careful language, the absence of risk. He is not gentle with systems that close the door and call it order. Church, if no one is unsettled by your presence, if nothing unjust loses its footing when you arrive, if the floor never breaks, whose house are you keeping? He weeps because he has seen the ending before, the march towards certainty, the slow blessing of violence, the crosses rising again, always filled with the ones who had no power to refuse the story. The wild Messiah, cords in his hands, standing in the way between the machinery and its victims, not to destroy, but to interrupt. And he is still there, holding the space open, breaking the pattern, refusing the script, waiting to see who will step with him and risk stopping it before the nails are lifted, before the wood is raised, before we call it necessary again.